Why do we do it? Why do we as travelers so often follow the crowds? We flock to the Taj Mahal. We jostle for space in the markets of Old Delhi, and we queue for photographs in the palaces of Rajasthan. It is almost as if there is a well-trodden path that we are all expected to walk. But what about the places that are not on these maps? What about the stories whispered on the wind, the destinations that don't shout for our attention, but rather hum a quiet, inviting tune? I found myself asking this very question, a yearning for something different, something authentic, growing within me. It was this feeling that led me to a name I had only heard in passing, Majuli. The name itself sounded like a melody. Majuli. It is the world's largest river island, nestled in the mighty Brahmaputra River in Assam. The very idea was utterly thrilling. An island in a river. My mind filled with images of lush green fields, simple bamboo huts, and a life dictated not by the clock, but by the rhythm of the water. The pull was irresistible. I packed my bags not with a detailed itinerary, but with a sense of pure, unadulterated curiosity. I wanted to see a side of India that was not polished for tourists, but was beautifully, wonderfully real. The excitement was a tangible thing, a flutter in my chest that grew with every passing moment as I prepared for the journey. My adventure began with a train journey, a classic Indian experience in itself. The train chugged its way through the verdant landscapes of northeast India. Outside my window, the world was a blur of emerald green. Tea gardens stretched for miles, their neat rows of bushes tended by women in colorful saris. Small villages with their tin-roofed houses and smiling children waving at the passing train flashed by. The air itself seemed to change, becoming thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. It was a slow, meditative journey, a perfect prelude to the tranquility that awaited me. The gentle rocking of the carriage was a lullaby, allowing me to simply be present and soak it all in. This journey was more than just a physical passage from one place to another. It was a journey inward. With every kilometer that passed, I felt the noise and the haste of city life peeling away from me, layer by layer. The constant need to check my phone to plan the next move began to fade. Instead, I found myself captivated by the simple sights outside my window. A lone fisherman casting his net in a pond, a herd of cattle lazily crossing a field, the vibrant colors of a local market glimpsed for a fleeting second. I was not just traveling to Majuli, I was traveling towards a different state of mind, one of peace and quiet observation. The last leg of the journey was the most magical. From the town of Jorhat, I had to take a ferry to cross the Brahmaputra. This was no modern vessel, but a large, rustic wooden boat brimming with life. It was packed with people, motorcycles, bicycles, and even sacks of vegetables. The air was filled with a cheerful cacophony of Assamese chatter, the revving of engines, and the bleating of a goat tied to a railing. As the ferry pushed off from the bank, leaving the mainland behind, I felt a profound sense of crossing a threshold. We were heading into a world set apart, a place where time itself seemed to slow down, governed only by the majestic, swirling currents of the river. As the ferry chugged along, I struck up a conversation with a kind-faced elderly man named Devajit. He had lived on Majuli his entire life. With a gentle smile, he pointed towards the horizon. "Our life is the river," he told me, his voice warm and steady. "She gives us fish, she waters our fields. Sometimes she is angry in the monsoons and takes our land, but she is our mother." He spoke of the island's unique culture, of its neo-Vaishnavite monasteries, known as satras, where art, dance and prayer have been preserved for centuries. His words painted a picture of a community living in deep, respectful harmony with nature, a concept that felt so distant from my own world. The island appeared slowly, a thin green line on the horizon that gradually grew larger and more detailed. I could see the tall bamboo groves, the thatched roofs of houses built on stilts, and small boats bobbing by the shore. Stepping off the ferry and onto the sandy bank of Majuli felt like stepping into a living painting. The air was clean and fresh, filled with the sounds of birdsong and the distant rhythm of a drum. There were no traffic jams, no blaring horns, no frantic rush. Life here moved at a human pace, a walking pace. It was immediately and overwhelmingly peaceful, a balm to my city-wearied soul. As Devajit and I walked along a dusty path, he explained more about the satras. He told me that they are not just places of worship but living centers of culture. Young boys, known as Bakats, joined the Satras to dedicate their lives to religious studies, art and music, particularly the famous Satriya dance. It was fascinating to learn about this unique monastic tradition, so different from any I had encountered before. His invitation to witness a celebration at his local Satra felt like being given a key to unlock the very heart of the island. I felt an immense sense of gratitude for this chance encounter, a reminder that the best travel experiences often come from simple human connections. Later that evening, I found myself sitting on a woven mat inside the hallowed walls of a Satra. The air was thick with the scent of incense and ghee lamps. The atmosphere was one of quiet reverence. Then, the performance began. Young Bakats, dressed in traditional white and orange robes, began the Satriya dance. It was not a performance for an audience, but a form of prayer. Every movement was graceful and deliberate, telling stories of the god Krishna. Their feet moved in intricate patterns, their hands formed delicate mudras, and their faces were masks of pure devotion. It was mesmerizing, a beautiful living tradition that had been passed down through generations right here on this island. After the spiritual nourishment came the culinary delights. Majuli's street food is simple yet bursting with flavor. Devajit introduced me to a local snack called pitha. These are little rice cakes, some savory and filled with lentils, others sweet and stuffed with coconut and jaggery. I tried one that was steamed inside a turmeric leaf, which gave it a wonderful, subtle aroma. The texture was soft and chewy, and the combination of the slightly sweet rice with the earthy flavor of the leaf was just perfect. It was food made with love, using ingredients grown right there on the island. Each bite felt like a taste of Majuli's soul. My favorite discovery was a humble dish called kumul sol. This is a unique type of magic rice that requires no cooking. You simply soak it in warm water for about 15 minutes, and it becomes soft and ready to eat. The locals enjoy it for breakfast, mixed with creamy yogurt and a chunk of dark, rich jaggery for sweetness. It was surprisingly delicious. The rice was light and fluffy, the yogurt provided a tangy coolness, and the jaggery melted into a sweet caramel-like sauce. It was the simplest, most refreshing meal I had ever had, a testament to how wonderful food can be when it is fresh and uncomplicated. The celebration was not a grand, loud affair, but a gentle communal gathering. Everyone shared food, stories, and laughter. Children ran around playing, their giggles echoing in the warm night air. I felt completely welcomed, not as a tourist or an outsider, but as a guest. This experience was a powerful reminder that the heart of a culture is not found in its grand monuments, but in its daily rituals, its food, and the warmth of its people. It was a lesson in the beauty of simplicity and the importance of community, a feeling that resonated deep within me. The next morning I woke before dawn. I walked to the riverbank, the same one where the ferry had docked. The world was silent, draped in a soft grey light. I sat on the cool sand and waited. Slowly the sky began to change. First a pale pink, then a fiery orange, and finally a brilliant gold. The sun rose over the horizon, casting a shimmering path across the wide, calm waters of the Brahmaputra. The river, which had looked so powerful and brown the day before, now seemed like a sheet of molten gold. It was one of the most beautiful sunrises I have ever witnessed. A quiet, breathtaking spectacle that filled me with a profound sense of peace. Spending time in the quiet embrace of Majuli's nature was deeply restorative. I took long walks through bamboo forests where sunlight filtered through the tall stalks, creating patterns on the path below. I watched fishermen cast their nets with a practiced, almost balletic grace. I listened to the symphony of nature, the chirping of unseen birds, the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze, the soft lapping of the river against the shore. In this stillness, I found a clarity I rarely experience in my day-to-day life. It was a chance to disconnect from the digital world and reconnect with the natural one, and with myself. This trip to Majuli completely changed my idea of what travel should be. I realized that I had often been a collector of sights, ticking famous landmarks off a list. But this journey was different. It was an immersion. It wasn't about what I saw, but about what I felt. I learned that the most memorable experiences are not always the grandest ones. They are often the small, unexpected moments, a shared conversation on a ferry, the taste of a simple meal, the quiet beauty of a sunrise. Travel, I now believe, is about connection to people, to nature, and to a different way of life. So, I encourage you, The next time you plan a trip, look beyond the famous names and the popular guides. Seek out the hidden places, the Majulis of the world. There are countless gems scattered across India waiting to be discovered. They may not have magnificent forts or five-star hotels, but they offer something far more valuable. A chance to see the world with fresh eyes, to connect with humanity in its purest form, and to find a little piece of yourself that you never knew was missing. Go, explore the unseen. You will be rewarded in ways you can hardly imagine.